Hello there, and welcome back. I am so very glad you could join me tonight. Before we begin our journey, I wonder if you could take a moment just for yourself. Where are you right now? Are you lying in bed? Take a gentle breath in and out. Feel the rise and fall of your chest, a simple, steady rhythm. Let the sounds of your day begin to fade. Tonight I want to plant a seed of a thought in your mind. It is a simple question, one that sounds at first like a wonderful gift, a superpower from a myth, a glittering jewel of an idea. What if we could remember everything perfectly? Just let that idea settle for a moment. Don't try to analyze it. Just feel the shape of it. Imagine a mind that is a perfect, flawless archive of your life. Every face you have ever seen, every name you have ever heard, every conversation, every meal, every scent, every single moment, stored with perfect clarity forever. Nothing is ever lost. Nothing fades. The first cry of your child, the exact shade of the sky on a perfect summer afternoon, the taste of your 5th birthday cake, the exact words of a poem you read in school 20 years ago, all are as vivid and accessible. In our world, memory is a river. It flows, it changes course, it smooths the sharpest stones over time. Sometimes it is a torrent, and sometimes it slows to a tranquil pool. But it is always moving, always changing the landscape of our past. Forget names, we misplace keys, we struggle to recall the details of even important events. Forgetting is a constant and often frustrating part of our lives. We have calendars and alarms and little notes to remind us, all because our minds have this built-in habit of letting things go. But what if memory was not a river, but a vast frozen lake, a perfect crystalline surface that captures everything exactly as it was, holding it in a motionless, eternal state? Imagine a world where the very act of forgetting is impossible, a biological impossibility. Humanity, through some quiet turn of evolution, has developed a mind that is a perfect, flawless recording device. From the moment of birth to the very end of life, every single second is captured and stored in high fidelity. What would life be like in such a world? The benefits seem obvious and wonderful. Think of the sheer efficiency. You would never forget an appointment, a birthday, an anniversary. Every task, every assignment, every promise would be perfectly recalled. The excuse, "I forgot," would vanish from our language because everyone would know it could not possibly be true. And think of the harmony that might bring. No more hurt feelings over a forgotten special day, remembering dates, giving gifts, attending events. See, these would become seamless, effortless acts of love and friendship, a constant affirmation of your perfect memory of another person's importance. And in the world of learning, the mind would be a library of infinite, perfectly organized shelves. Students would be masters of their subjects. A single reading of a textbook would be enough, a single lecture perfectly retained. The knowledge of humanity would be at every person's instant command. Imagine the scientific breakthroughs, the artistic creations, the philosophical insights that could arise from minds that hold all they have ever learned in perfect, accessible detail. But as we begin to drift into this world of perfect recall, a gentle question arises like a whisper on the wind. Is forgetting truly a flaw, or is it perhaps a hidden blessing, a necessary grace? Consider the heart. Imagine you fall in love. You remember every shared glance, every soft word, every touch with the intensity of the moment it happened. The joy of that love would be a constant, vivid presence in your mind, a sun that never sets. But what if that love ends? In our world, time is a gentle healer. Memories soften the sharp edges of pain, dull, and we are able to slowly move on. But in this world, there is no moving on from the memory. The feeling of that person's hand in yours, the sound of their laughter, the exact look of betrayal in their eyes, it would never fade. You could not forget how much you loved them. The heart would be a museum of perfect and perhaps unbearable preservation. And what of the darker emotions? Imagine you have an argument with a friend. Every harsh word, every angry expression is recorded forever, replaying in your mind with perfect fidelity, as sharp and painful as broken glass. Forgiveness would become a monumental task, because the slight, the insult, the betrayal would never lose its sting. Or imagine you hate someone. That person may be long gone from your life, but the reasons for your hatred, the memory of the hurt they caused would remain as fresh as the day it happened, an eternally open wound. And the deepest grief of all, the loss of a loved one, the feeling of that departure, the emptiness, the pain, it would never, ever fade. The final conversation, the last touch, the silence in the room. These moments would be eternally present, a ghost that sits with you at every meal, a sorrow that never softens into gentle remembrance. Our minds would be so incredibly full, a constant, overwhelming flood of information, of sensation, of emotion. How irritable it might be to remember everything, the embarrassing moments from childhood, the awkward conversations, the mistakes we have made, all of it always there, ready to be replayed at a moment's notice. So, as we prepare to step into this world, we hold two ideas in our hands. On one hand, the incredible power of a perfect memory, a key to all knowledge. On the other hand, the crushing weight of it all, a cage built from our own past. Let your own memories of today begin to soften. Feel them becoming less distinct, less sharp. That is the natural way of things. It is a gentle process of release. Now, let us imagine a world where that release is impossible, a world where the past is always the present and the mind is a library where no book is ever allowed to gather dust. As we float above this new earth, this planet of perfect memory, it appears at first unchanged. The continents and oceans are in their familiar places. The patterns of weather swirl across the globe just as they do in our own world. The fundamental physics of this place are the same, but the change, this profound alteration in the human mind, has sent ripples out that have subtly yet deeply reshaped the very surface of the planet, remaking the world in its own precise, detailed image. Let us drift down and observe. The first thing we notice is the structure of the world. It is a world built on permanence and precision. The architecture is incredibly complex, filled with intricate details and patterns that would be dizzying to a mind like ours. But to the inhabitants, every line, every carving, every detail is a piece of information. that is easily stored and recalled. Buildings are not just shelters, they are vast physical encyclopedias. Imagine a university where the walls of the physics building are etched with every major equation. The walkways of the literature department are paved with the opening lines of 1,000,000 poems, and the great public squares have their histories carved into the very flagstones, knowing that any passerby, even a child, can read and retain it all. The very air feels different. It is not a physical change, but a sensory one. Imagine walking through a city here. The sounds are a cacophony of overwhelming clarity. In our world, our brains are brilliant editors, filtering out most of the noise, the distant siren, the hum of 1,000 air conditioners, the snippets of 100 conversations. We forget them as soon as we hear them. But here, every sound is registered and every sound is remembered. The air itself seems to vibrate with the sheer density of information it carries. The sound of a footstep on gravel 50 yards away, the specific musical key of a bird song, the subtle change in pitch of a train's horn as it approaches and then recedes. The smell of street food from a vendor on the corner, the light perfume of a person who walked by 10 minutes ago, the metallic tang of rain on hot pavement from a shower that passed 3 hours earlier. All of these scents are captured and catalogued in the mind with perfect precision. It is a world of extreme sensory richness, a constant, overwhelming feast for the senses. Let's look at the logical ripple effects of this one change. Consider the natural world, the great libraries of our world, the vast digital servers that hum with cooling fans and consume mountains of energy. They are almost non-existent here. Why would you need them? The most efficient, most elegant, and most capacious storage medium on the planet is the human mind. Instead of libraries, there are orators in every community, individuals who have chosen to memorize specific fields of knowledge and can recite it perfectly. History is not written in books, but is held in the collective living memory of the population. To learn about the ancient past, you don't read a book. You attend a recitation where an orator speaks for hours, their voice weaving a tapestry of perfect, unbroken fact. This has had a wonderful unintended effect on the environment. The need for paper production, with its vast consumption of forests and water, is vastly diminished. The massive server farms are unnecessary. This world is, in many ways, a greener world. The forests are healthier and more expansive, the rivers cleaner. Humanity's data is stored not in silicon, but in synapses, and this has lessened their physical footprint on the planet. But there are other stranger changes. The legal system, for instance, has transformed the landscape. There are no disputes about what was said in a contract or who was where at a certain time. A witness's memory is perfect and incorruptible. As a result, the world is covered in designated witnessing zones. These are public squares, parks, and even specific rooms in buildings that are designed for optimal sensory recording. Imagine a room with walls made of a soft gray, non-reflective material. The air is still and filtered, carrying no scent. The acoustics are perfect, designed so that a whisper can be heard with absolute clarity from any point in the room. This is where important agreements are made, where treaties are signed and where legal testimony is given. It is simply a person recounting a perfect memory, and it is unassailable. The very concept of art has changed the look of the world. Imagine a painting or a sculpture. In our world, we can look at it many times and see new things. Its beauty is in its ability to be reinterpreted. But here, a single glance is enough to capture every brushstroke, every chisel mark forever. To look again is simply to access a perfect file. So art has become something different. It has become ephemeral, grand, beautiful ice sculptures that last only until the sun touches them, intricate mandalas of colored sand created by a dozen artists over 100 hours that are then swept away by the wind in a single beautiful gesture. Massive choreographed displays of light and sound created by thousands of synchronized drones that form breathtaking, impossible shapes in the night sky for only a few moments before disappearing. The beauty is not in the object, but in the single perfect memory of its existence. The world is filled with these temporary, breathtaking displays of creativity, a constant search for a new image, a new sound, a new sensation to place in the perfect gallery of the mind. Let's pan slowly across one of the cities as the sun sets. The sky turns orange and purple. For a mind that forgets, this is a beautiful, fleeting moment, precious because it will soon be gone and only vaguely remembered. But for a mind that remembers everything, this sunset is now stored alongside every other sunset ever witnessed. The 57th sunset of your 7th year, viewed from your bedroom window, the 1,203rd sunset of your life, seen from a beach with someone you loved, the 6,000th sunset viewed from a high-rise office. Does the beauty of the moment diminish when it becomes just one more perfect file in an infinite cabinet? Or does it gain richness by being perfectly comparable to all the others? This is a question the philosophers of this world debate endlessly. The planet has been remade not by a change in its physics, but by a change in the perception of its inhabitants. It is a world of breathtaking detail, of profound quiet in some ways, less industry for data storage and overwhelming noise in others, a constant sensory intake. It is a world where history is not a dusty book, but a living memory in the mind of every person you pass on the street. It is a world built for memory, not for forgetting. And this has had a profound and often contradictory impact on everything that lives upon it. Now, as this world of perfect detail settles in our minds, let us turn our gaze to the creatures that inhabit it and to the human animal itself, to see how life adapts to a mind that can never, ever let go. As we shift our focus from the remade planet to the life that dwells upon it, we find that the law of perfect memory has sent strange and unexpected ripples through the entire biological kingdom. The evolutionary pressures have changed. The game of survival now has a new unyielding rule. To be seen by a human is to be remembered forever. Let's start with the animals. In a world where every human remembers every interaction, the relationship between people and animals has become incredibly deep and complex. Consider a simple pet, a dog. In our world, a dog lives in a series of present moments. But the humans in this world remember every single moment with their canine companion. Every playful bark, every shared walk, every gentle nudge of a wet nose. a specific pattern of fur behind its ears, the way it smelled after a run in the rain. The grief when that beloved pet eventually passes is not a softened, generalized memory of love, but a sharp, perfect recall of thousands of individual moments of joy, now tinged with the unbearable pain of absence. The pain is so immense, so perfectly preserved, that the very nature of pet ownership has changed. Many people now choose to live with animals that have lifespans far longer than their own, creatures like giant tortoises or ancient breeds of parrots, to postpone that inevitable, perfectly remembered pain of loss for as long as possible. In the wild, animals have adapted in curious ways. In a world with less industrial pollution and more preserved forests, animal populations are thriving. But they have had to adapt to a predator, humanity, that never forgets. An animal that wanders onto a farm and eats a crop is not just shooed away. Its image is perfectly recorded in the mind of the farmer. That specific animal with its unique markings is now a known thief. This has led to an interesting evolutionary pressure. Animals that are masters of camouflage, or those that are more adept at avoiding any human contact, are the ones that survive. We see the emergence of new subspecies, the ghost deer that has evolved a coat that blends almost perfectly with the dappled light of the forest floor, or a breed of nocturnal fox whose footpads are so soft they make no sound, leaving no memory of their passing. The forests are teeming with life, but it is a shy, secretive life, always aware that a single sighting by a human means they are catalogued forever. Conversely, some species have evolved a startling mimicry, developing patterns on their fur or feathers that resemble something uninteresting or even annoying, a do not remember me signal to the human brain. Even the flora has been impacted. With perfect memory, the science of botany and agriculture has reached incredible heights. Every successful cross-pollination, every genetic tweak, every crop yield under specific weather conditions is perfectly remembered by generations of farmers and scientists. This has led to the creation of plants that are perfectly adapted to their microclimates, producing food with an efficiency we can only dream of. The world's botanical gardens are not just collections of plants. They are living libraries of genetic memory, each one tended by botanists who hold the entire history of every single plant in their minds, recalling the lineage of a specific rose as easily as we recall our own name. But the most profound biological adaptation has, of course, occurred within the human species itself. The brain, this organ of perfect recall, has become the defining feature of human evolution. Let's imagine what that brain is like. It is a structure of immense complexity and incredible energy consumption. MRI scans of these brains would show that the parts associated with memory storage, like the hippocampus and the temporal lobe, are significantly larger and more densely wired than our own. The brain is a biological supercomputer of staggering capacity. This constant recording and storage of information requires a tremendous amount of metabolic energy. As a result, the human body has adapted to be a highly efficient energy processing machine. People in this world eat constantly, much like hummingbirds, consuming small, high-energy, nutrient-dense meals throughout their day to fuel the ever-active machinery of their minds. Their entire metabolism is geared towards feeding the brain. But how does a mind cope with this endless stream of perfect data without fracturing under the pressure? This is where the most interesting biological adaptation has occurred. The brain has developed a new kind of gating mechanism. While every memory is stored perfectly, the brain has evolved a powerful conscious ability to control which memories are at the forefront of thought. It is like having a perfect library where all the books are permanently open, but you have developed incredibly strong mental muscles that allow you to choose to read only one sentence on one page at any given time. Without this ability, a person would be perpetually lost in a storm of their own past. A simple act like making breakfast would trigger a flood of every breakfast ever eaten, every conversation had over toast, every type of coffee ever tasted. This has led to a new form of mental discipline taught from birth. Children learn to gate their memories, to file them away and focus on the present moment. This is not forgetting. It is a profound act of mental organization, a form of continuous lifelong meditation. Those who are not skilled at this can suffer from a condition known as memory inundation syndrome, or MIS. A person experiencing an episode of MIS might stand frozen on a street corner, their eyes wide, as they are helplessly swept away by a torrent of vivid, perfectly recalled memories, the pain of a childhood fall, the joy of a long-lost love, the taste of 1,000 different meals, all hitting them at once. It is a state of being so overwhelmed by the vividness and volume of their own past that they can no longer function in the present. Another fascinating adaptation is the human response to pain. Physical pain is remembered with the same clarity as any other sensation. A broken arm from childhood, a burn, a cut, the sensation is perfectly stored, ready to be re-experienced. To prevent people from being crippled by the memory of past pains, the body's endorphin system has become much more powerful. The brain is constantly producing a low level of natural painkillers, not to dull present pain, but to suppress the memory of past physical suffering. It's a delicate biological balancing act to keep the ghosts of old injuries at bay. And what about sleep? In this world, sleep is not for consolidating memories. That happens continuously in real time. Instead, sleep has evolved into a state of intense mental sorting. It is the time when the brain works to file, categorize, and cross-reference the memories of the day. A person's dreams in this world are not the surreal emotional landscapes we experience. They are more like a rapid, silent, incredibly organized process of information management. Imagine dreaming of a vast, silent library where you're the librarian, effortlessly moving books, creating new sections, and ensuring every single volume is in its perfect place. People wake up not feeling rested in the way we do, but feeling organized, mentally tidy, ready to face a new day of perfect recording. Life has adapted to the pressures and possibilities of perfect memory. The natural world has learned to be more elusive. The human body has become a high-energy engine to power a superbrain. And the brain itself has developed sophisticated systems to manage the blessing and the burden of never forgetting. It is a life form that is perfectly in tune with its own past, but one that must struggle every single moment to remain present. And it is this constant conscious struggle that shapes the very core of their society, their daily lives, and the strange new ways they have found to be happy. Now let us walk unseen among the people of this world into their homes, their workplaces, their social gatherings, and try to understand the fabric of their new reality. Society built on the foundation of perfect memory is a place of astonishing efficiency, deep emotional challenges, and some rather amusing complications that ripple through every aspect of life. Daily life is, in a word, precise. Imagine planning to meet a friend. You don't say, let's meet around 3. You say, let's meet at 3:02 and 17 seconds. And both of you arrive at that exact instant because you both perfectly recall the agreement. The world runs on a schedule of breathtaking accuracy. This eliminates a lot of small frustrations, but it also removes the soft, fuzzy edges of spontaneity that we often enjoy. Getting charmingly lost on the way to a new restaurant is not possible when you have a perfect mental map of the city after seeing it once. Homes are not cluttered with reminders. There are no shopping lists on the fridge, no calendars on the wall, no sticky notes on the computer monitor. These things are utterly redundant. Instead, homes are filled with objects chosen for their sensory richness. A piece of wood with a unique grain, a hand-blown glass vase with a complex pattern, a chime that produces a single perfect note. These are things to be experienced once and then remembered perfectly. The aesthetic is minimalist, not because they dislike possessions, but because a few richly detailed experiences are more valuable than 1,000 mundane ones that just add clutter to the mind's perfect archive. The world of work is a fascinating place, with perfect recall of every piece of training and every past project. Expertise is developed at an incredible rate. But it also means that mistakes are never forgotten. A single error in a calculation, a poorly phrased comment in a meeting from a decade ago, it is all part of your permanent, indelible record, perfectly remembered by you and everyone who was there. This creates a culture of extreme carefulness. People think very, very deliberately before they speak or act. Job interviews are intense. An employer can ask you to recite a specific paragraph from page 427 of a technical manual you read 7 years ago, and you are expected to do so flawlessly. This has also given rise to some interesting new professions. There are memory curators who are like therapists and life coaches combined. They help people organize their own minds, teaching them advanced gating techniques to manage the flood of memories, helping them file away traumatic events or foreground joyful ones. There are experienced designers whose job is to create novel, memorable moments for a populace that is incredibly difficult to surprise. They might stage elaborate, immersive theatrical events or design restaurants where the menu changes completely every single day, never repeating a dish. But it's in the realm of relationships that the true weight of perfect memory is felt. As we wondered at the beginning, how do you move on? A breakup is not a slow fading of feelings, but a sharp clinical amputation, with the phantom limb of the relationship still tingling with perfectly recalled sensations for the rest of your life. And people have had to develop a new kind of emotional resilience. Forgiveness is not about forgetting. It is an active, continuous, and incredibly difficult choice to gate the memory of a hurt, to deliberately file it away and refuse to dwell on it. Couples in therapy might spend their sessions with a curator learning how to mutually refile the memory of an argument so that it no longer triggers the same painful emotional response. This has also led to a strange and somewhat humorous social etiquette. You can't tell the same joke twice to the same group of friends. They will remember it perfectly along with your exact intonation and their own polite but now unrepeatable laughter. Storytellers are under immense pressure to always have new material. People can't even feign interest in a conversation they've had before. You might hear someone say quite politely, "I'm sorry, but my memory file indicates we had this exact conversation on the third Tuesday of last year, beginning at 9:14 p.m. We covered the ethics of ephemeral art, and you expressed a preference for sand over ice. Perhaps we could discuss a new topic. There's a common social game that is played at parties, a sort of gentle teasing. Someone might ask a friend, what was the ambient temperature in this room the last time we were all here 3 years, 4 months, and 2 days ago? And the friend will reply instantly, 71.2 degrees Fahrenheit. The barometric pressure was falling and you were wearing that slightly garish green shirt you favor, which you also wore to Ilara's recitation 6 months prior. It is a world without white lies, without the social graces built on the foundation of our imperfect recall. Honesty is not a virtue. It is an inescapable fact of life. This has also changed the nature of gifts and celebrations. You can't just give a gift, you must give a new experience. People might gift each other a session with an olfactory artist who creates a brand new scent that has never been smelled before. A birthday party might involve a trip to a soundless chamber to experience the novel sensation of perfect silence for the first time. The constant search for novelty, for a new memory to add to the perfect collection, is a driving force of the culture. Crime is almost non-existent for the same reason. A witness's testimony is a perfect recording of the event, making conviction almost certain. But this leads to its own problems. Is there any room for rehabilitation in a society that can never forget a person's worst act? But what happens when the world runs out of new things? This is the great unspoken fear of this society, that one day they will have heard every song, tasted every flavor, seen every color combination, and be left with nothing but the endless perfect repetition of their own past. This existential dread is the driving force behind their most ambitious projects. Deep space exploration and research into other dimensions, all in a desperate search for new stimuli, new memories to make. This is the central problem they are trying to solve. They are a society of immense knowledge, precision, and creativity, born from the gift of perfect memory. But they are also a society haunted by the fear of being trapped in that perfection. And they are resourceful and brilliant, and they have built a world that is a marvel of order and detail, yet they are constantly working to manage the profound psychological burden of a past that is never truly past. And as we reflect on their meticulously organized yet emotionally fragile existence, we begin to feel the echoes of what they have lost and what we, in our forgetfulness, are so lucky to possess. As our time in this world of perfect memory draws to an end, we pause to simply feel its atmosphere. It is a world that feels incredibly dense. Every space, every person, every moment is saturated with the weight of an ever-present past. It is a world of breathtaking clarity, but it lacks the softness of forgetting, the gentle blurring of time that allows for healing and reinvention. There is a sense of profound stillness to it, the stillness of a crystal that has perfectly formed but can now no longer change. The feeling is one of great competence but little peace. These are a people who have mastered information, who have built a society of flawless precision. But there is a quiet underlying hum of anxiety, the constant conscious effort of gating their memories, of keeping the overwhelming tide of the past at bay, is a burden they all carry. It is the feeling of a world holding its breath forever, a world that can innovate endlessly outwards, but can never change what is within. What is the enduring legacy of this world? If we were to find its ruins millennia from now, we would find no libraries, no massive data centers, no history books. We would find a world of ephemeral art and meticulously crafted public spaces designed for perfect sensory input. The greatest echo of their existence would not be in what they built, but in the very absence of the things we build to remember. Their legacy is the quiet testament that the ultimate storage device was, for a time, the human mind itself. The echoes would be in their folk tales and myths, which would not be stories of heroes who remembered, but of mythical figures who were blessed with the magical, impossible ability to forget. Forgetting would be their heaven, their ultimate fantasy, a state of grace they could imagine but never achieve. And now it is time to let this world of perfect recall fade, allow the image of the detailed cities, the quiet, shy animals, and the ever-present minds of its people to recede. Let the feeling of that dense, information-saturated air begin to lighten. Let it all dissolve like a sand mandala in a gentle breeze. Come back gently to your own space, to your own mind. Feel the beautiful imperfection of your own memory. Think of a moment from your childhood. Is it perfectly clear, or is it a soft, warm impression, a feeling more than a photograph? That softness is a gift. It is the work of your mind, gently protecting you, healing you, and making space for new things. The memories that have faded were not erased, they were simply integrated, absorbed into the person you are today. The joy of being reminded of something long forgotten, that sudden happy spark, that is a pleasure the people of that other world will never know. The small frustrations of our daily lives, a forgotten name, a misplaced item, are tiny prices to pay for the incredible blessing of being able to let go. Forgetting is not a failure of our minds. It is one of its most essential and graceful functions. It is the tide that washes the beach of yesterday clean so we can leave new footprints today. It is the falling leaves of autumn making way for the new growth of spring. It allows us to forgive, not by erasing the past, but by allowing its emotional charge to dissipate, like a storm cloud that has rained itself out, leaving the air clean and fresh. It allows us to grow and change, to not be forever defined by the person we were yesterday. We look upon our lives, and sometimes we may feel they are not perfect. We see the flaws, the mistakes, the moments of forgetfulness. But our journey tonight suggests that perhaps this perceived imperfection is, in fact, a deeper kind of perfection, a system designed by a wisdom far greater than our own, a system designed for healing, for growth, for grace, to be able to wake each morning not as a perfect archive of every past sorrow, but as a being capable of a fresh start, as a blessing of immeasurable worth. Let us be grateful for this blessing, grateful for a mind that knows how to hold on, and for a heart that knows how to let go. Grateful for the gentle, healing fog of time. It is the best way for us to be. Until then, rest well, and let the story keep going in your own dreams.